When you talk about Mumbai city, you cannot not talk about the Parsi community. Today is the Parsi New Year, that is Navroz. So first of all, Sal Mubarak to everyone who's celebrating. I hope you have a great year ahead. And on this occasion, we're attempting to dive into the history of Parsi community from the time they moved from Iran to India and till date. Today I have the lovely Arnavaz who has dedicated all her life to education and social service, and she's sharing some interesting facts about her community. So stay tuned till the end and let us know in the comment section how you like this episode. Many people in our country don't know about the Parsi community and their traditions. So this episode is aimed to make them aware a little bit about the community and their traditions. And our today's guest Arnavas is not, she doesn't call herself an expert, but she is someone who's practicing all these things for many years throughout her life. So I think she can share what her experiences are and what her knowledge is. All right. So let me just take her back to a few years, few hundred years, I would say. So when the community actually moved to India, so this was a result of the Islamic invasion on Iran. So Annavas, can you just go a little bit deep on that and elaborate the whole migration story one more time?
So we're talking about the time period of the 7th to the 9th century CE. We are talking about, as you mentioned, the Arabic invasion into what was then known as Persia, today Iran. It was a
Hmm.
time when the dynasties ruling there were Zoroastrian. Zoroastrianism was a
Right.
state religion there. And when this invasion happens and the Zoroastrians are being forced to convert, there are many who choose not to convert, but to move to a place where they can practice their religion without oppression. At a time like this, there are groups that make their way to what we know today as India. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those that come by sea land on an island called Diu, and they live there for many years. But conditions are not optimum there, and they uh, think of moving to mainland. Which, when they attempt the move to mainland, they arrive at what we know today as Sanjan. As they are approaching the shore of Sanjan, you have the natives there, the local people, see this boat arrive carrying people who look different from them, who are bigger built compared to them, who are carrying arms, who are dressed differently, and they begin to worry. And they inform their leader, Jadiran, come
Mm-hmm.
to welcome the group of refugees. And there is a face to face meeting between the leaders of the refugees, one of the head priests, and Jadiran, the leader of the locals. Some say he was king, some say he was a chieftain. So leader is a good word. The meeting is home, but there is no language between them. And Jadi Rana needs to convey to the newcomers that they really can't stay there because there's no room for them. And to do this, he calls his people to give him a pot of milk to the very brim. The message goes across very effectively, and the leader of the Zoroastrians has a response, a very sweet response. He asks for a bit of sugar and sprinkles it over that pot of milk without disturbing it at all, without spilling a drop, simply
Mm-hmm.
sweetening it. It's a message that Jadivana gets well, and he knows now he cannot really refuse these people who come in peace. They do not attempt to uh, take over. And yes, they are permitted to come ashore and make their home there, but not before some conditions are placed before them, conditions that they accept and kind of follow. One is that they to take up the language spoken locally, which is Gujarati, and even today Parsis will refer to Gujarati as the mother tongue. On the
Right.
local dress, to put down their arms, to promise not to try and convert the locals, and A very quaint condition that I believe was put forward also was that their ceremonies should be performed after sunset, probably so that it's not in full view of the locals and doesn't attract as much attention. So, with that, this, the Parsis, as they were called then, as they're called today, making their home on this western coast of India in an area we today call Gujarat.
Right. And later, Parsis moved, when British came, they moved from Gujarat to Mumbai and became such an important part of the culture of this city. So, can you tell that story how they actually moved to Bombay and how they became part of it?
When the East India Company sets up its headquarters in Surat, it associates with the local communities. Among them are the Parsis. The Parsis, in fact, take on the role of liaising between the British and the local Indian communities. Maybe because they themselves are migrants, they kind of see this role as something that they can do. They are already traders in their own right, too. Uh,
Hmm.
Post the East India Company making Bombay its headquarters and moving here, the Parsis moved too. The East India Company has moved to these seven islands, which has come to them as a gift in a royal marriage, a dowry that accompanied a royal marriage. And when they come to these seven islands to create a trading post, have no traders. The local communities, the indigenous communities of the time, they would be people who live off the land and off the sea. And to
Hmm.
create a trading post, you need traders. And the East India Company actually invites people from the trading communities of the western coast of India to come and settle there. The Parsis are among them. They already have a good relationship with them. And that's how about 30% of the population that moves to Bombay and settles in and around the fortified area are the Parsis.
Hmm. So, apart from trading, were there any other occupations that Parsi people were practicing while the British were in power?
Once they come to Bombay, it would mostly be trading. Earlier, yes, agriculture would have been it. There would have been craftsmen. There would have been like the normal spread of occupations in any community.
Hmm.
If you ask me
Right.
what their main occupation in Persia was before they come, then yes, it was an agrarian society. So basically agriculture there and herders and the like.
Hmm. So, I've heard that there were actually two waves of migration from Iran to India. So, can you elaborate on the second wave of migration?
So when the Parsis moved to Bombay, they very
Hmm.
well. They are now as pretty much established, and they know that they have left behind Zoroastrians in what by that time, around that time, gets to be known as Iran. And they know that they are living in very difficult conditions and want to give them an opportunity to move to more conducive surroundings and invite them to India.
Hmm.
Send an emissary to do this. And once he goes there and he sees the conditions, he documents it, but he also invites the young people who have very little opportunity for education or for taking on a meaningful vocation to move. And many of them do move. So this wave of migration would mainly be over land. They would have taken the land route and entered from northwest of India. Well, when I was speaking, there was no area we know it today. It's just the landmarks I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
And once they come here, they are given shelter in Parsi homes. They start working with Parsis, and they also start working with Goan bakeries that are in this area where most of the Parsis are staying, an area which even today we know as Gobi Talao.
Right.
So once they come and settle here and they seek occupations for themselves, the enterprising ones amongst them, they start what we today know as the Irani cafes.
Right. And I think Irani cafes are the places which were meant for everybody, right? They didn't make any or discrimination or discrimination based on religion. They were just welcoming all communities from all classes, right?
Absolutely.
So, can you just paint a picture on how an Irani cafe looked while the British were in power, like the old times?
The look of the Irani cafe hasn't changed much. So today, if you walk into a Sasanian or a Kayani, it's pretty much the same. But yes, when they come in, they decide to open these cafes, and initially some of these cafes are cooperative efforts. They they are doing all of this at a time when people didn't normally go out to eat. You
Hmm.
had to, you were out on work and you just had to eat out, you would choose an eatery run by someone from your community. People had moved to Bombay from various places across this western region of India, and they still preferred to live in areas where their own community lived. They ate food cooked only by people of their community. Now, when Radhika is coming, they have to make a breakthrough. So, what they do is the cafes, which initially start as tea shops because they start selling tea, which is liked by their own people, but also by the locals. And from the tea shops comes this idea of a cafe. Now, you want a cafe that's inviting enough for people of all strata of society to walk in and all communities to come in. A big breakthrough in that. One of the things they do is the cafes are kind of modeled on the basis of a European cafe. Breaking into a market that is quite untapped, somewhere where the Europeans in the city would also feel comfortable.
Hmm.
Besides this, they put up pictures of religious icons and religious leaders of the two countries. Once again, letting everyone know that you're welcome.
Yeah.
To make non-vegetarians and vegetarians sit in the same cafe, you need some measures for that too. So one of the first things they
Hmm.
do is that they do not serve pork or beef so that no one community gets offended over this. Secondly, they have utensils demarcated, obviously looking different for serving vegetarian food and non-vegetarian. So a vegetarian eating there would be very comfortable knowing that the utensils being eaten from or being served in are definitely not used by a non-vegetarian before that.
Hmm.
So these kind of things make people feel more and more welcome. There is another thing they do to tap into yet another market. Women then eat out. And to have women coming out as part of families, they needed to give them privacy. The family really wants. The
Hmm.
concept of the family room having a kind of opened up to yet another pocket in the market, they begin to thrive. So even today, in an Irani cafe, you could be sharing a table with just anyone from any community. It could be students from a college nearby. It could be a taxi driver who's parked his vehicle outside and coming for a bit of a bite. So it's just
Hmm.
across the society that people will meet there and mingle.
Absolutely true. Like whenever I go to Rani Cafe, I always have to wait for 10 minutes because it's always filled out and there's always a waiting list outside every cafe, right? That's the popularity of Irani cafes in Mumbai, at least. And I love the pastries. It is so good. I mean, the quality is maintained for so many years, and it's I really appreciate the whole food and the whole vibe over there. And they preserve that old Mumbai charm till today, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. They still have their list of instructions, which they were famous
Yeah.
for. At Kiani, if you go, you'll see that list of instructions has been modified to include laptops and mobiles. And yeah, often people ask me, but why don't they take GPay or one of the,
Yeah.
online platforms? But they're not the only ones who don't. I think there are many traditional eateries that still don't accept them in heavily
Hmm.
cash. And actually, with the Irani cafe or sticking to all these traditions adds to their charm. And I think that is what we go to seek when we go there, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, right. So now since we're talking about food, so Irani food or Parsi food has a lot of Indian influence. But what are some things that have been retained from the Iran part of the culture?
In, I don't think there's anything that is on the Irani cafe menu, which is totally directly linked. Yes, the berry pulao, which was made popular more recently by Cafe Butan,
Mm-hmm.
some links because the berries that they use are definitely produced of Iran, not available directly. The Keema Kotala, especially when it is flavored with dill or what we know as shepu or suwa, that would be harking back to their homeland. But everything comes from things that they have picked up along the way in India. So the British influence is definitely there with the puddings and the crust patties and all of that. The With the Goan bakeries that they were associated with came the Portuguese influence. The pao would definitely come
Mm-hmm.
from there. Also, the way variety of eggs that gets served. Well, so all of this is from here. And actually, the tea which is served, the normal tea which is served here, the Iranis don't quite do it that way. They have their tea
Oh,
served without milk, and even the sugar is something that you hold in your mouth while sipping your tea and sweeten it. It is not added to the cup of milk. Quite
mm-hmm.
the same here.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, even I've observed in all the Irani cafes I've been to, there's always some little light, basically the fire is a big part of it, you know. That's a symbol to the Zoroastrian community, I feel. And even the Parsi temple, which is Agyari, which is also actually a fire temple. So, can you tell me a little bit about why fire is such an important element of this religion or tradition? And a little bit about the fire temple also.
Yes, the fires, or the Atash Patka, which we call it, is very, very important to the followers of this religion. And you see symbols of it in many places, like outside many Atash Berams, you will see it worked into the architecture itself. So the religion reveres all elements of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And fire being one of them, and one of the most important ones for the community. We are thought of as fire worshippers, which we are not. The
Okay.
fire for us is a medium to reach the Creator, Ahura Mazda. The fire, which is consecrated and which you find in the Agyaris, is considered a live entity,
Hmm.
respected as such and prayed to as such. And that allows you to make your connection with your Creator. In
Okay.
simple way, just in simple terms to explain, I think that should get the message first, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Coming from where we come, except for Central Asia, fire would have been important there too, for more practical reasons, because it was fire that provided warmth, light, a cooking medium, kept animals away, and so much more when someone is exposed to nature. But now it has been incorporated into the procedures of the religion itself,
Mm-hmm.
a very, very important part, kept in the sanctum sanctorum of the Agyari and tended to only by the priests or the mobbets. So when we go to worship in an Agyari, we would bow our heads at the entrance of the Qibla, which is the sanctum sanctorum. Even we would be
Mm-hmm.
allowed to go.
Yeah. And do you follow any kind of dress code when you have to enter the Agyari?
But traditionally, women would go in saris, men would come in their taglis or taglas, and the head is always covered, even today. But besides the head being covered, the rest of the dress now is left to the individual. Yet, since you are entering a place of worship, the understanding is that you would be wearing uh, clothes which are acceptable there, maybe not too short, not too skimpy. Yeah. So that's the only thing that is asked of us now. What is important is that when you enter the precincts of the fire temple, there is a cleansing procedure, partly symbolic, partly actual. So you're using water to cleanse the exposed parts of your body before you actually step in. You're leaving your the world behind in many ways. So it's not just removal of the dirt, but you're reflecting yourself to enter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about Parsi festivals? Like we know about Navroz, but there are other traditions also such as Navjot, right? So can you tell a little bit about each of these important events, in a Parsi calendar?
Okay. Talking about the Parsi calendar, a very confusing
Yeah.
concept for most. We have three calendars.
Yes.
So the Parsi calendar consists of 12 months of the year, but every day of the month is dedicated to a divinity. And therefore, we do not
Mm-hmm.
have 7 days of the week, we have 30 days of the month. 21st March vernal equinox celebrated at Jamshedi Nowroz would have traditionally been the New Year celebrated by every Zoroastrian.
Okay.
To keep the calendar on track to account for the leap year, every 120 years a month was added. I think I do have an
Okay.
Adhik Maas, right? Yeah,
Right.
something like that. It would have been. But when we moved, when the Parsis moved here, whoever was in charge then, they forgot about this addition of the month. Hence,
Hmm.
the Parsi Shenshai calendar uh, moves forward by 1 day every 4 years. We could actually
Okay.
calculate the age of someone if you know that person's date of birth and the day on the Parsi calendar, the Roj as we call it.
Hmm.
The Iranis who came in the second wave, they had one correction. Therefore, their calendar also moves the same way, but they are 1 month ahead of us.
Okay.
That calendar is called
Interesting.
the Kadmi calendar. And then there is the Fasli calendar. People who have chosen to go back or continue to follow the original 21st March as the new year. And they consider Jamhuri Nowruz as the first day of the year. So we look at the three
Okay.
calendars going and what we are going to celebrate on 6th.
16th August.
So
Yeah.
what we're going to celebrate today
Yeah.
is the New Year according to the Shenshai calendar.
Okay. Interesting.
So besides this, there's another misconception of what is the last day of our year and the day of repentance for whatever wrong you've done in the year. It's the day prior to the New Year, the Pateti.
Okay.
So people go around wishing each other happy Pateti or happy Papeti. That's
Yeah.
actually not
It's wrong.
right because it's not the New Year. In
Hmm.
fact, it's a day of repentance, as I mentioned. The universal celebration is on Jamshedi Nowruz, 21st March, vernal equinox, probably harking back to our agrarian origins where coming of spring would have made a huge difference,
Hmm.
right? So, yeah, there is a winter, months of winter, nothing happening, nothing growing. You are living off what you have stored. And now life is regenerated. And as in many, many communities and religions, spring festivals are there. So this is the spring festival for the Zoroastrians.
Mm-hmm. And what is Navjot?
Yeah. So that was about the calendar. And
Mm-hmm.
among the other celebrations that we have, yes, the Navjot would be one, and of course the wedding or the Lagan would be the other. The Navjot is a ceremony done to initiate a child officially or formally into the religion. It's done before puberty, and post that day and post that ceremony, the child is expected to wear a sadra and a kasti, say
Mm-hmm.
the prayers at the regular intervals as prescribed by the religion. It's a major celebration because we have this person committing to take on the religion for life, becoming a Vaishya.
And it is for both, like boys and
Oh, yes,
girls. There's no
both.
distinction.
It is for both.
Right. So we have seen like a lot of industrialists today are from Parsi community, and they have done so much for India and for the world, I would say. So, what are certain things that people don't know about the Parsi community, or probably have been there have been some inaccurate stereotypes? So, can you just point out a few that you think are should be corrected now?
That's a very vast question. Uh, stereotypes, I think people are very aware of from Bollywood films doing the job, telling people what Parsi should be like or what they think Parsis are like. I think in all communities, stereotypes are kind of getting diluted. But yes,
Yes.
we are seen as people who are very jovial. Or the other end, Ekdam Kharoos doesn't smile. Yeah, our pension for our automobiles and our bikes, that's another thing that's very well known of and quite true. In fact, you'll see many youth spending more time, and I think this is with the males in the community, uh, on their vehicle, cleaning, repairing, keeping it polished, ekdam chakachak, than spending time with their family often. The rest of it, I think, is a bit an aura which has been created. Yeah, so every community has eccentricities, and you'll see them here too. One of the things that are associated with Parsis is the anything for Ida. The Ida goes for any meal. Yeah, so the eggs in so many different forms, which Parsis are said to enjoy, and we do. Uh, Any other stereotypes that you can think of?
Mm, that all Parsis are very rich. Like, is that a stereotype? But I think it's a correct one.
No, it can't be a stereotype, right? I mean, any community has the very rich and the not so rich, and some have the very poor. We may not have too many of the very poor, but yes, we have
Mm,
people who subsist on charities.
yes,
So it's expected. And because of giving importance to education and therefore taking on professions and careers, generally, a higher level of education relates to a better standard of living. And that you will see in the community.
right, right.
What was the other part of the question you asked me about the philanthropy? Um,
Mm,
well, I think the religion's ethics do promote that. But then, having said that, I would also say that all religions would promote the good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Yeah. Uh, yes, Parsis have been known for philanthropy, and earlier it was more so. And while the few industrialists in the community whom you mentioned do continue to live in a very big way, others continue doing it at whatever level they can.
mm.
And there was one more part to your question.
Yeah, I'd asked that what are certain things that people don't know about the community or the history of the community.
Don't know about. You know that Parsi rioted.
No, I didn't know that.
So there were two riots they were involved in.
Okay.
One was the Parsi dog riot, as it's been called in places. There were a lot of stray dogs. This is, I believe, is around the 1830s. Huh?
Okay.
There were a lot of stray dogs in Bombay, and the British wanted them killed. And they gave
Mm.
people, locals, uh, they rewarded them for getting rid of a stray dog. The Parsis are
Oh,
very, very fond of dogs. You know, even today, the municipal corporation has something
yeah.
about rats, yeah? And people catch them and
Yes.
take them and then maybe let them go later, and all sorts of things happen. But well, when they couldn't collect the animal itself, they sent along the word that you bring in the tails of dogs and you will be rewarded.
Oh,
So people, well, that is what was done. And Parsi's own had, I wouldn't like to use the word own because pets become part of your family,
yeah.
not your possession. Uh, they came after, because they were being rewarded, they were getting money for it, they came after the pets too, which the party got really, really angry about. They were already agitating about this. And at this point of time, there was a riot. And finally, well, this particular rule was removed, and the sucking of dogs' tails and culling of dogs stopped. Another one was the fifth picture, possibly. There was a Parsi newsletter or a newspaper which, in every issue, would write about a well known personality and accompanied with a drawing. Now, in one particular issue, they wrote about the Prophet Muhammad, and there was a drawing accompanying that. Now, Islam bans images of humans and I believe,
Mm.
and this would have agitated them, the Muslims of the time, anyways. But further, the drawing of the Prophet, the representation of the Prophet, had a little defect in it. There was an extra ink dot that attached itself to one of the eyes of the Prophet. And some prophet
Hmm.
takes a copy of this drawing and puts it on the walls of the Jama Masjid. Perfect way to instigate a riot. So the Muslims believe
Yes.
that this was done to offend them and to insult their Prophet. And that riot went on for a very long time before they had reconciliatory meetings and leaders of the community got together, moved around those areas together, showing that so much importance should not be given to this. It was not intentional, and that we as community should live together. Yes,
Hmm.
we were part of riots too. I think that's a
Right.
lesson on that. Among our traditions, most people do know, but they have questions about it, and that is our disposal of our dead.
Hmm.
That's done in open arid regions, the open sky funerals continue too. And in Bombay, in Mumbai, we have the town of silence of Dungarwadi at Malbatin, an area that was given to them for the purpose a couple of hundred years ago by the British, in fact, or rather, I should say
Hmm.
the towns of the British. And yes, that is something different. Uh, Today, there are Parsis who are opting to go for cremation instead, but many still follow the traditional way.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure many people didn't know that. And I also want to mention that this is you coming on a podcast for the first time. So I want to really thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone to just give us this amazing episode. So thank you so much.
Welcome for that. I don't know how I did it. I was a bit
I
cautious
think
of
you did pretty
myself,
well. I
so
think
yeah.
no. And last question I want to ask you to end this episode would be, what is the meaning of your name?
Oh my God. So I looked it up because lots of people asked me this, and I guess I wanted to know too. I came across two meanings. One was like a spiritual mentor or a spiritual guide, spiritual mentor or something in that lines. Different websites give it slightly differently. And another one was uh, someone who speaks clearly, something like an auditor.
Hmm.
Those are the two names I came across. The origin of the name, one of the first records of the name was that there were two sisters. This is going back to all times in Persia and our old history. Arnavaz and Arnavaz, who were either daughters of King Jamshid or sisters of King Jamshid. So somewhere around.
Okay. I think your name is really lovely and it really suits you.
Thank you.
All right. So, on that note, let me thank you again for giving us this amazing episode. I hope to have you back with more such conversations. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And I hope you
Everyone
had a good time
watching
too.
Saad Mubarak.
Yeah.
And next, sure, yeah. So next year, remember, it's not happy property or happy potato to anybody. It's Saad Mubarak or Navroz Mubarak on the New Year's Day.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.